The scenario I'd like to talk about today is a female that identifies as a lesbian calling 911 for toe pain. Her big toe has been infected for about a week and has been untreated by the patient. Medic 7 responded for this complaint at 3 o'clock in the morning on a windy but otherwise clear night with no response issues. Upon interview of the patient, the attendant in charge, Caitlin Misko, asked the patient, "Do you want to go to the hospital via the ambulance?" Where the patient replies, "Yes." The comment after the affirmative response by Caitlin was, "Wow, that's gay." Caitlin then proceeded to walk the patient to the ambulance and sat on the captain chair with no assessment or vitals taken. All vitals documented must have been made up as there was none taken during the encounter, yet they are reflected on the PCR when reviewed by the patient who brought it to our attention. No other incidents were reported. As the supervisor hearing the complaint, I would need to take immediate action. At no time are slurs against someone's race, culture, or sexual preference or identification allowed while at work. Being accused of this, along with lack of patient assessment and care, are worthy of an investigation that is thorough and swift to identify exactly what was said and to review the expectations of calls for service. The interview of Caitlin would go something like this. I would ask, "Do you recall a toe pain call yesterday at 3 a.m.? Caitlin would reply, "Yes." "Did you have any issues during the call?" Caitlin, "Yes. It was the middle of the night and she was calling for a 1-week-old toe pain that she could have evaluated on her own without the use of an ambulance. Were there any extenuating circumstances that would cause vitals or an assessment to be inappropriate during this call?" "No, I did my job," says Caitlin. Then I would ask, "Were 2 sets of vitals done and an assessment performed of the affected area?" Caitlin said, "What was documented?" I stand behind my answer that I did my job. Me, where were vitals physically taken while on the scene? Caitlin, I don't recall. Me, after the patient gave consent for transport, did you recall what was said by you? Caitlin, I would like my union representative present. Upon further investigation of the patient compartment cameras located in the ambulance, there was nothing that indicated a hostile environment. Per policy, a basic set of vitals is to be taken twice during a patient encounter, whereas at least one is performed in the back of the ambulance when transporting to a hospital. A meeting is scheduled with a union steward and Caitlin for 2 days later. So 2 days later, I asked, so when we spoke last, you requested a representative to be present before answering questions. I would like to inform you that there's been a complaint against you and your partner that there was a "that is gay" comment made during the call in question, and that there was no assessment or vitals taken despite what the documentation says. The times do not match up for when you took vitals and when you were in the back of the ambulance, as we have reviewed the tape and no vitals were taken as documented. Now, the truth would be appreciated when I ask if there are any circumstances that affected care. Caitlin, well, I did say her going to the hospital was gay out of frustration, and I did not touch the patient, as the patient was fine. There was nothing wrong with her, and she was able to get to the hospital without assistance. She just didn't want to. Well, I appreciate your candor and being honest with me today. The investigation is ongoing, and I would like to say that there are severe consequences for inappropriate behavior and patient neglect. Every citizen has the right to full assessment and associated vitals, and if requested, a ride to the hospital. If this was a code sepsis call and it was missed due to a lack of vitals taken, harm could be proven and you would be in jeopardy of losing your ability to practice for not activating the code sepsis protocol per the Peninsula EMS protocols for sepsis. Also, comments that are sexual or racial in nature are not tolerated by this department. Do you understand? Yes. Is there anything else you'd like to say or add? No. We will be in touch as to what disciplinary actions will be taken based on the closed investigation that is set to close in 3 days. In the meantime, you are on a 3-day break as scheduled, so on your return, we will have a conclusion and disciplinary action lined up in accordance to the policy. You're free to go. Based on further review, in accordance with the policy, Caitlin is placed on administrative leave for 3 shifts unpaid and is pending a review of the call with our medical director with the intention of educating her on the importance of thorough and timely assessment of every patient that is contacted. I would also recommend a review remediation of cultural sensitivity and sexual harassment classes that the city puts on bi-monthly before she can return to work. Ultimately, the fire chief follows most recommendations set forth by the direct supervisor of the employees with regard to disciplinary action.